The Live with Renk show. Appreciate you tuning in. And as I promised you from this morning, coming up on air, he's on the line with us right now, is a gentleman by the name of John James. He is running as a Republican in the primary for senator here in the state of Michigan. And if he was to win the primary, he would run up against Senator Stabenow and the Republican Party's attempt to de-seat her. So I wanted to have John on so you guys can be introduced to him. He's also speaking tonight if you want to meet him and hear him probably in more in depth and able to ask him some questions at the Calhoun County Tea Party at 6:30 at the Cool Center in downtown Battle Creek. You can go meet John. Again, Calhoun County Tea Party. They meet on the third Thursday of every month. That's tonight at the Cool Center, the old Burnham Brook in downtown Battle Creek. Look it up. It's at 6:30 that he will be there. John is new to the political scene, as I've been saying to all of you. In fact, he is a graduate of West Point, and I heard and was just speaking to him very briefly before we went to air, that he is a graduate of Brother Rice High School, and I'm not going to hold that against you, John, at all. Welcome to the Live with Renk show, John.
Good morning. Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Yes, I won't hold that against you. And those of you who may know a little bit more about me, I graduated from an arch foe of Brother Rice, Detroit Catholic Central in 1982. Four of us went there. Actually, in truth, John, I don't know, did you play sports at Rice?
I did. I played football for Coach Al Fracassa.
Yeah, I know Al. Al actually knows me, too, in our family. And if we ever meet, I'll tell you about that. But anyway, what I was talking about was back then, the guys who actually played against each other didn't have that inner struggle as much as the parents did, at least when I was going to school there. The parents got more into that rivalry. The players just wanted to get out there and play and beat the crap out of each other, right?
That's generally how it goes.
Yeah.
When we're there, it's all in good fun, and when we leave, we're all brothers. So
that's right.
I'm glad to be on the show today, and thanks for having me.
So, John, you, as I said, you're from, I guess you went to Brother Rice, and then you graduated from West Point, were you a pilot, a helicopter pilot?
Yes. So this is a really cool opportunity. I graduated from Brother Rice in 1999, and I left my situation because I have a passion for service, always have. And there's something internally that drove me to understand that those of us who are here now have an obligation, not an option, to continue our service to our country. So I graduated Brother Rice in 99 and went to West Point, graduated in 2004, and became a Ranger qualified Apache pilot after commissioning. I went to Baghdad, and I served Operation Rocky Freedom 07-09, and served with some of the best men and women that this nation has to offer. It was an honor.
Right, and then you came back home. In fact, one thing you have going for you is that my nephew graduated from West Point, I think in 2008. I think it was 7 or 8. I actually played football for him, so you came back to Michigan, where your family has a business.
Yes, my family has a business headquartered in the city of Detroit. My father started in 1971 hauling beer back and forth between Michigan and Wisconsin. From 1971 until I took over in 2012, he was able to grow it to about $35 million from nothing. And when I got out of the Army, let me backtrack a little bit.
Well, John, if I may, you used an incorrect on-PC term there. You said he grew it. Come on, John, you didn't build that.
Right.
That goes back to Elizabeth Warren and President Obama, guys, by the way, if you didn't catch that. Go ahead, John. I'm sorry.
I'll tell you what, he'll be the first one to say that he didn't get it on his own. By the grace of God, he was able to persevere. And that's another un-PC thing. One of the things my father taught me is if you were ever dragged to court, would there be enough evidence to convict you of being a Christian? And so that's kind of how I've lived my life. My core values are faith and family, God and country, and service before self. And I didn't learn that from the Army. I learned it from John and Sharon James raising me up. And, you know, our families are disintegrating. And part of the ills that we see, most of the ills that we see in this country, is the fact that our Constitution has nothing to stand on because our families are disintegrating. And so by making sure that we prioritize our values and making sure that we continue to fight for those, both at home and abroad, are things that I hold very, very dear to me, and it informs everything I do and don't do.
In fact, you're married with children, correct?
I am. I have a beautiful wife, Liz, and my 2 sons, John and Hudson, 4 and 2 years old, respectively.
And you have, as you said, came back to run your parents' or family business, and you understand then what it takes to run a business in this state. In fact, yesterday I just had a caller call in. I don't remember about what we were talking about, what the context was, but he was saying how difficult it is. That's right. He has a family-run business here in the Battle Creek area where my flagship station is, and they have so much paperwork that they have to fill out. That he was going from 20 hours a week to filling out paperwork to 40 hours a week to filling out paperwork to actually having to hire someone, which is less money to grow the business, as you would know. So that is something you experience and know about.
Well, of course. But see, we shouldn't be surprised by this because that's all Debbie Stabenow and establishment politicians know is increased bureaucracy. They don't know how to create jobs because they've never done it before. I've been creating jobs for the past 5 years. My dad's been doing it for over 45. And understanding what it takes to run a business from a farm to a factory, to actually create jobs and have people rely on you for their livelihoods are some things that we urgently need in Washington. People who sign the front and the backs of checks, so who understand what's at stake for real, live Americans and for real, live Michiganders.
And what it takes to grow a business and then offer other people that opportunity that you have.
Of course, because that's what it's all about. It's about what we can pass on and what we can provide. And I came back from Iraq because Michigan was hit very, very hard, the hardest of all the states, lost over 800,000 jobs during the Great Recession, during the lost decade of Democratic control. And so I came back to do a little I could because I'm over fighting for Iraqi freedom, and I didn't see enough. I didn't see Debbie back here fighting for Michiganders. So I came back to do what little I could. I joined the family business and was able to grow it from $35 million to $137 million and added 100 jobs in Michigan and east of the Mississippi. I want to take these same disciplines to understand, first and foremost, one, it's not the role of the federal government to run my business. You have people in Washington, in the Senate, Debbie Stabenow and Chuck Schumer, trying to tell me how to run my business. I think I know better how to spend my money than the federal government. But these are people trying to control industries, and they've never run a business before. All they know how to do is run their mouth. And so when I go talk to entrepreneurs in Detroit or farmers outside of Battle Creek, we all want the same thing. We want a fair shot, not free stuff. We want the opportunity to succeed and make sure that not only do we have a fair shot, but that our children can build up on our successes. And I'll protect that when I get to Washington.
What made you turn at in your mid-30s to want to get involved in politics?
Well, that's a great question. I appreciate you asking that. I don't have any massive catharsis. I don't have anything that hit me on the back of the head, but I did get on my knees and pray about it last April. And I'm telling you, as truly and as honestly as I'm sitting here talking to you right now, that I'm just walking by faith and not by sight. And I am not perfect, but I serve a God who is. And I've been walking through the open doors, and I've been following the opportunities. And all I prayed last year was that the Lord not necessarily make the path easy, but that he make it clear, and he has been. Right now, we have a message that's resonating across the state of Michigan. We have grassroots who are fired up.
And, John, I want to talk about that. I got to go to a hard break. We'll be right back to get into some of the bigger issues with John coming up right after this. Where does he want to take America? You listen to Live with Renk. this gentleman, John James. He's running in the primary for the Republican Party to be the next senator here in the state of Michigan. Thanks, John, for holding on. I'm sorry we had to cut short your last response because of the hard break I have. So it goes out to the other affiliates around the state. You were saying, I asked you the question, what made you decide to leave the service, come back, run your family's business for 5 years, and then move into possibly this dirty game of politics? And you were saying that you had prayed about it for a long time, and then we kind of ended there.
So really quickly, the same passion for service that led me to go serve my country is the same that brought me back to serve in my community. And now it's that same passion for service that's leading me to continue down this path to serve in Washington once again. You hit the nail right on the head. Our country is going in the wrong direction. There's a wave of socialism and godlessness taking over, and we need people who pay attention to the fundamentals, who focus on the basics: life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, our Declaration of Independence, our Constitution and Bill of Rights. I truly believe that our Constitution is under attack right now, and I swore an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And it is my responsibility, it is my duty to continue to stand the fight for our values, First Amendment, our Second Amendment, our right to keep and bear arms, our 10th Amendment. We the people haven't delegated certain authority to the federal government, and we just need to make sure we get back to what made us great in the first place.
Now, on some of the big issues, you did talk about economic opportunity and the fact that you've run your company, your father's family's business, and grew it from 35 to 120 something $1 million since 2012, and that takes a lot of effort, a lot of time, and a lot of work. And so you know how to create jobs. You created 100 jobs, you said, during that time. Where are you when it comes to the big issue? As a senator, yes, you represent Michigan, but you're also looking out for the United States, and national security has been a big threat over the last, a few decades. It has to do with terrorism, and then over the last certainly 8-9 years, due to the fact that we've kind of retreated from being the leader in the world, and that lead from behind mentality. Where do you see? Where would your votes? What is your philosophy on national security as it relates to us here in the United States?
Well, I can tell you I have real-life relevant experience keeping Americans safe because I've done it before, unlike Senator Stabenow, who can only talk about protecting our veterans and keeping us safe. I'm a graduate of the United States Military Academy at West Point. I'm classically trained in the art of war. But as an Army officer, having deployed in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom, I also have firsthand experience with counterinsurgency. Because of this experience, I understand that any fool out there can be violent, but true power is wielded with the effective and efficient placement of both humanitarian assistance and Hellfire missiles. Protecting American interests abroad and keeping Americans safe at home are both impossible without strong alliances, and those who love America and protect its interests will be shown great generosity. Our president has shown this, and those who attack America and its allies have no hope for survival.
So what are the other issues out there? I think you mentioned you're pro-life. Being a veteran yourself, you'll certainly, I would hope, be attuned to the veterans' issues. What if you were elected as the next senator from the state of Michigan? Would you be pushing for in the Senate?
Of course, going back to the core, going back to the fundamentals, making sure that first and foremost we preserve our Constitution, making sure that we confirm textualist Supreme Court justices, not only in the Supreme Court, but in lower courts all over the country, who will not bow and will not try to legislate from the bench, who will not be activists, but make sure we have textualist Supreme Court justices like Neil Gorsuch, who will uphold constitutionality, making sure that we take care of our veterans. Veterans are dying at a clip of 22 per day, and that is reprehensible. That is crazy to me. And we have to do more to make sure that our veterans' toughest fights aren't when they come back reintegrating in the civilian workforce and the civilian life.
Now, one last question I have for you with the time we have remaining, John. And again, on air with me is John James. He's a candidate in the Republican primary for the U.S. Senate. he would be running against Debbie Stabenow if he was to win, is this. What would you say to people? You've mentioned when you've graduated and your service time, so your age is you're in the mid-30s, wherever you're at in that. What would you say to people who say, well, you just don't have enough experience yet? Because actually, I talked about the Democrats running for governor here in their primary, and they had a town hall meeting the other day, and some of the people who liked some of the people who hadn't run before, Democrats actually said of other Democrats that I'm concerned about their experience when it comes to politics. How would you address that?
Well, if you want somebody who has experience doing nothing, vote for Debbie. But if you want somebody who has experience protecting lives, saving American lives, vote for me. If you want somebody who has experience creating jobs in the real world, then vote for me. If you want somebody who has experience understanding what it's like to live in Michigan and not be disconnected like Washington is, then vote for me. I believe that experience is a function of living in the real world and being able to bring those experiences to bear to continue our service. If you'd like to learn a little bit more, please go to johnjamesforsenate.com. I put 100 videos in 100 days. You can learn all about my experience and how I'm going to fight for Michigan.
That's johnjamesforsenate.com. Is that what you said, John? johnjamesforsenate.com?
That is correct. johnjamesforsenate.com.
All right. Thanks a lot, John, for coming on the Live with Renk show. Appreciate that. Good luck at your town hall tonight with the Calhoun County Tea Party.
Thanks a lot.
Have a great day. Well, there's another candidate that we just heard from. His opponent, Sandy Pensler, I think. For some reason, I'm thinking, I can't remember. Have we spoken to him? I think we have. If not, we'll certainly have him on. I want to introduce him to all of you, left, right, center, doesn't matter. I would suggest you take a quick look at him, look at his johnjamesforsenate.com website, and see what you think.